Hey folks, Rex Bear here with Leak Project. We have an exclusive interview for you with lifetime contactee, Kimberly Busselar. Living close to Mount Hood, Oregon, a hotspot of paranormal activity, including UFO sightings and other phenomenons. She reached out to us a couple weeks ago and has given us the opportunity to hear about some of her incredible encounters on the paranormal. When Kimberly was pregnant with her second child several years ago, she was abducted and taken into a spacecraft with a long window that overlooked the stars. Mrs. Busselar gets into the details and has scars on her stomach to this day from that experience. Kimberly has encountered other strange entities and creatures, such as a black hooded being. She has also been contacted by many spirits of the deceased, including her own grandmother at a young age. What Kimberly discloses later in the interview will shock many and might cause some to remember similar experiences. I've had the opportunity to speak with many contactees and incredible people from around the world, and tonight's show is one of the most mind-bending broadcasts I've been a part of. Kimberly, really appreciate you joining us tonight. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
I know that we spoke just a little bit before tonight's presentation, and you told me a little bit about yourself and some of the experiences that you've had. I was wondering if you could share with our audience just a quick introduction about yourself.
Well, I am a mother of three and wife, and I live in Sandy, Oregon. I lived in Sandy for about going on 12 years. And then before that, I lived in Portland. From beginning to end. I mean, till 12 years. And I'm a housewife. Just, what else? I don't know. What else do you want to know?
So other than the abductions and these contact experiences that you're having, you live a pretty normal life.
Yes.
Okay. And is any of your family in the military?
No.
Okay. So a lot of times people that have had many encounters with extraterrestrials or what they think are extraterrestrials, possibly interdimensionals and other things, there's a lot of connections with the military. So that's why I asked that. And another question that I ask a lot of people that have had encounters, do you have Rh negative blood?
No.
Okay. So how old were you when you had your first encounter?
Let's see. Some of these experiences I'm remembering as well. Hypnosis kind of helped me remember some of them. I believe when I was about 5, I briefly remember being in my bed and feeling scared. I still need to get hypnosis for that. That just recently came up on that one. But the ones that I can remember are, I was 28 and I was pregnant with my second child, and I was about 3 months pregnant. And I remember it seemed like a dream, but it was like real, like kind of like a dream, but it's like it was too real to be a dream.
Okay.
I remember in this dream state, or whatever you want to call it, what I can remember is being on a table with these bright lights, and it looked like 3 long needle type things, like on one, like a prong coming down in my stomach. And I remember just trying to scream, but I couldn't. I was so terrified because of my, being pregnant. And then I didn't remember anything after that. I just remember looking out this long window in this craft, and I could see like lights, like the feeling of the air was so light. And I remember just looking out and being still where I could not move. And I know there was a being on each side of me telling me everything's going to be okay, not to be afraid. And of course, I'm afraid.
Well, yeah.
And then it was kind of cloudy, and I remember the craft going down. So whatever they were trying to show me outside in space. I don't know. I was just too terrified to even communicate at that point.
Were they talking out
And
loud, or was it
no,
telepathic?
it was telepathic because I could not move. I was kind of like stuck, like I could not move, and I could see out the window. It was a real long window, and I could see into space because it was nothing but lights and black from what I could see. And I was like, whoa, this is a little bit weird. And then it kind of moved, and it was almost like it was moving fast. And then all I could remember was seeing dirt, like nothing but dirt, in a blue pickup sitting there in this dirt. And I thought, well, that doesn't make any sense. And then when I woke up, I looked at my stomach because I'm like, this is weird, really weird. And I actually had 3 marks a little below my belly button that were red, like red dots. And I thought, well, that was really strange. I wonder, and in my mind, I always kind of kept it in the back of my mind that did something happen? Did it? No, it couldn't have, because I didn't want to believe it.
Of
And
course.
then years later, I went to a hypnotherapist, and it was actually for my husband to quit smoking. But I decided, well, I'll just go for the heck of it and see what comes up. I really didn't have anything in mind. I just wanted to do it. And sure enough, my abduction experience, the one that I just told you about, came out, and it was really intense to where I was actually shaking, and I was crying and holding my stomach, and I really couldn't fully get everything out of it because I was shaken too much. I asked the hypnotherapist, I said, is this just my imagination? She's like, no, this is an experience that you had. And then I left because I just didn't even want to talk to her about it. I just left. The next
What did your husband
experience,
say when
he
he
just
found out
went,
about it?
whoa. Because I had mentioned it to him before that I wasn't sure, but I think I was. And of course, when you tell people that, they think, yeah, whatever.
Right.
So when I told him that, because I called him on, I just said, I just really don't. He wasn't in the room when I went under hypnosis, and I just said, I can't believe this happened. I feel violated. Why are they doing this to me? And just all the questions that you have in your mind, and then I kind of let it go. And this is when I lived in Portland at the time, Portland, Oregon. Then I ended up getting pregnant with my last one, and I was about 30. I think was pregnant with her at 34, maybe it was 36, yeah. And got pregnant with her, and I went in, and before I seen the doctor, I went in, and the way they did it was you go in for an ultrasound, and then you meet with the doctor. And so I went in to get an ultrasound, and when I got an ultrasound with her, which I didn't know if it was a she or he at that time, I was probably about 3.5 months, and it looked like there were 2 babies in there moving. One was low, and the other one was far up. And I asked the lady, I said, is there 2 in there? And she said, I can't tell you that. You'll have to talk to your doctor because I'm not authorized to do that. I'm just doing the ultrasound. So I said, okay. And the reason why I say that is because how I found out I was pregnant to begin with was through a dream as well. A lady came in and in my dream and said I was pregnant, and I'm like, because here I am in my 30s. I'm like, no way, I'm not pregnant. And so I didn't believe it, but I did in a way, and I went and got a testing, and they said I was pregnant. So then I'm like, okay, so that's the way I found out I was pregnant, through a dream. That's weird. So anyway, make a long story short, thought I had 2 in there, which there were 2 heartbeats moving. And then I go to my doctor. But before I went to my doctor, I actually got food poisoning and was sick, really sick. Went to my doctor, got an ultrasound. There's only 1 in there. So I thought, I had 2 in there. She goes, no, you only have 1. I go, well, why don't you look at the other ultrasound? No, there's only 1. I'm like, okay. So I just let that go because I knew there was 2. And the dream, in fact, did tell me there were 2. So let's see, we moved to, after I have my daughter, Kelly, we moved to Sandy when she's about 3 months. I'm forwarding fast, going fast.
Sure.
We moved to Sandy, Oregon, and it's kind of out in the country, and there's really not much around, close to Mount Hood. Actually, we're almost in Welch's. I mean, Brightwood, because it goes Sandy, Brightwood, and Welch's. And I remember I had her on my bed, laying with me. My husband had went to work early in the morning, and I was going to let her lay on the bed with me. And I started to go back to sleep, and this bright light came through my window, came just straight through, and I'm looking at it in shock, like, what the heck is this? And as I'm looking at it, I just don't remember anything after that. I don't remember anything. It's just like, it was like something, this light just kind of just blanked me, where I didn't see anything. I was just sleeping. I'd woke up again thinking, what was that? And then I thought, okay, well, whatever. I kind of ignored that. And not too long after that, I just felt compelled to wake up at 3 something in the morning and look out my curtain in my front room. And it's pitch black where I live. There's no lights. I'm kind of up high. And so there's no street lights. I'm out in the country. And I look out my window, and there's this bright light in my neighbor's yard pulsating on the cow that lives over in the field. And I'm thinking, what the heck is going on? And my heart starts thumping, because I know that it's probably, and they're taking the cow. And so I'm just looking out the window scared, thinking, what if they read my thoughts? What if they see me doing this? And because I didn't know. I have no idea if they're gonna do something to me or what.
Sure.
So I, the next morning I tell my husband about it, and he's like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure." And we were invited to a barbecue at our neighbor's, and they were telling us, I go, "What happened to the cow that used to come out here?" And the lady said, "Oh," and she looked kind of strange, and looked at me, and I go, "Well," she goes, "We found it dead."
Oh
And
my
then she didn't want to
gosh.
talk about it, and I said, "Should I say something?" I really didn't want to say anything, because I thought maybe they think I was a strange, crazy neighbor,
Right.
talking about what I had seen. So I didn't say anything. I just knew the look on her face was good enough. That's all I needed. I didn't even need to talk about it. And so there was that situation. And let's see, there's
Did
so
she
much
tell you
more.
how it died? I mean, was it like a cattle mutilation, or did you not get into it?
I didn't get into it because I could tell on her face. It was, I'm
Jeez.
very, how do I want to say it? I'm very intuitive to how people feel,
Sure.
and I can sense energy, and I've always been able to do that as a child. I would know things. So I'm very sensitive, telepathic, psychic, the whole thing. Um,
I've
I've tried to
often
hide
heard,
it.
I've often heard, I just want to interject real quick. I've heard that many times people that have multiple encounters with, our space brothers or extraterrestrials or the Greys or whatever, they're more intuitive, and they're almost used as like a conduit to perform other things. So I wonder
Mhm.
if that's why they have targeted you, is possibly because of your DNA, it sounds like, and also your intuitive abilities.
Right. And another thing I have, ever since I was real young, I've always been very health conscious of eating, exercising, almost fanatical in a way. So I've always been pretty healthy. And today, even I eat organic food, and just by choice. It's not something that my whole family did. It's just the way I felt to do. Um, there was another incident where I had my son, my two daughters, and my son's girlfriend, and we were all going to meet. We were going to Washington area to go to look at some property at Kettle Falls area.
I
And my husband,
where is that? I
oh,
know Washington State pretty well, but I haven't heard of that area.
it's just a small little area. Um,
Is it
it's
by the Puget Sound? Is it closer to like Seattle or Olympia? Or are you further
I
north?
would
Or
I would say it's close to It's getting close to Canada. I'm trying to think
Okay.
where exactly.
Okay.
My husband happened to be working. He works out of town a lot. He doesn't anymore, but at this time he did. And he was working close to the Canadian border. And he was going to meet us over at Kettle Falls to look at some property there. And then he would go back to his job site and we would come back home in my son's girlfriend's car. And so I thought, okay, this is fine. And I was telling my son and everybody in the car about my experience of, the abduction and all that. And I wish that they could see what I seen so that, they would know what I was talking about. And so someone would at least believe me, not that they didn't, but they didn't really ask questions, They just kind of like, yeah, whatever. So as I was saying that, not even, and this is really just weird, we were coming through on our way home through Biggs Junction area. And that's kind of like a dry mountainy area, and there's water on the side. It's the connection between Washington, Oregon area, and to get back to Sandy. And on our way back, we seen this blue, like bright orb looking thing, as blue as the blue light on the computer, when the real blue.
Uh-huh.
And it was in the sky. It went off into two, separated back into one. And we're all watching this as we're driving, and we're going, what the heck is that? And then it zips off, and a spaceship, a craft, comes over to the left of us. And we can see it just as plain as day. Comes over the top of us, hovers right above the water by us, and it seems like we're just standing still. I can see the window, and the window looks just like what I described earlier when I got abducted with my daughter. And it was just, that's all I remember. That's it. I just remember seeing it. We all seen it. And we don't remember anything from them. Nobody wanted to talk about it. I wanted to talk about it because I'm like, did you guys see that? Did you guys see that? My husband said he was trying to get a hold of us for 2 hours and that we should have been home before he got to where he was. And I said, well, this is what happened. He goes, well, I think you were abducted because you guys should have been home before me getting to my destination. And there was that experience. So there's just, and when I take pictures lately, there's been these blue orbs with like lights in it, and I've seen them show up now on the internet lately. And I have pictures of those. I was helping my husband in the yard with our trailer. We were going to set it up to get ready to, take it out. And I started taking pictures. I don't know why. I just took a picture of, and this blue orb shows up with lights. And then it shows up again. It's in our yard, like it's watching us. And we took some at the beach, pictures, and I don't see these things. You don't see them. They just show up on your film. I took some just last night, and there was one out on my balcony, just out in the air on my camera. And it's a different camera each time. There's a camera, a cell phone, my husband's cell phone. So whatever these are, it's not a normal thing you see every day.
If we could jump back for a moment to the beings that you saw when you were the first time you can remember very well from that hypnosis session where they basically had that prong, that 3-tipped needle prong that they put into your stomach, and you said there was a being on each side of you. What did they look like?
I wish I knew. I've never been able to see them, ever. I've wanted so bad to see them, but all I can do is telepathically. I just know and I sense that they're there because they're communicating with me telepathically. I don't know if they think I would be just terrified if I seen them, which I was actually terrified. But I've asked recently to see them because I really want to. And I've asked why. Why are you doing this? I want to know. Is there a purpose? And I haven't gotten anything yet. I just know that I'm very, I get information. Sometimes I'll be out in public and I'll get information from, I don't know what it is, intuitive or about somebody, and I'll give them information. And sometimes my ego will say, no, don't say that because, you live in a small town and they might think you're weird. But I've done it and, it's been 100% correct. and they've thanked me, and I'm just like, wow, maybe I should not have my ego in the way of that.
You know, and they're obviously contacting you for a reason. And if they abducted you when you were pregnant both those times, and do you think they took one of your babies?
I do, and I think I may have some before I even had children, because if I can find someone to do a hypnosis session on me and get all the way down to when it first happened, ones that I can't remember maybe, because I believe when I was even younger it happened. There was a time also that I didn't even know about abductions at this point that I'm going to tell you, but when I was like probably 18, no, maybe 17, I remember I was on my way to work, and I was on my way to work, and I should have been there, and all of a sudden I was lost. And I'm like, how did I get here? This is not the way to work. And I'm driving, and I do not remember at all driving where I was driving. And it was weird. My boyfriend had called me, and he says, your work's been calling and asking why you're not there. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, you should have been there 2 hours ago. And I'm like, what? And it just didn't make any sense. And I didn't know what had happened. I said, I don't know. I think I got lost. And I had no explanation for it. That memory just recently came up, that could have been an abduction as well. And I don't take drugs. I don't smoke. I don't even take aspirin. I'm totally eat healthy. Always been that way. So there should be no reason. Because I questioned it. Well, why don't I remember going this way? So there had to have been an abduction at that point, because there was time missing.
How many other times would you say that you can recall you've had missing time?
There was one other time, and I'm not even sure what that was about. I was on my way. I was getting ready for work in my house, and I lived by myself. I was probably about, 20 something. The house in Portland. And I just remember waking up on my couch after I was already ready for work, getting ready to walk out the door. And I remember waking up on my couch. And I'm like, this is weird. Why did I fall asleep here? I was just, I had nobody there to say, what are you doing? All I knew is that I should be at work. And I got ready for work, and I don't remember anything else after that. I just remember being on my couch, waking up, fully dressed.
Now, you've had okay, so it sounds to me like they've been probably making contact with you since you were born. And does it seem like sometimes it happens more frequently? They'll visit you periodically more often than others?
I haven't really noticed that. I do know that at one point I felt like I wanted to go outside all the time and just look around at the sky. I kept feeling drawn outside, and it was almost like I was feeling called to go out. But, that hasn't happened in a while.
And that one time when you were in the craft and you saw that really long window, and then you saw that again when you were with family members, do they remember? You said they didn't want to talk about it then, but have you ever said, hey, let's talk about this, and they've given you the same description?
Yes, my middle child, my daughter, the one that I got abducted, or when I was pregnant with her, she is very telepathic, but she remembers everything. And she remembers it just like I do. My son, he don't even want to talk about it. He just doesn't even want to talk about it. I think it scared him. And my youngest, she don't remember. She was too little.
The telepathic abilities and stuff that you have and your middle child has, could you describe some of that to us.
Sure. Well, um, she knows what I'm thinking. I know what she's thinking. Very, she knows things like before you say them, just like I do. I can actually think of anything in the world, and I played this game with her to see how well her telepathic abilities are, and she gets it spot on every time. I can think of anything. I don't even have to give her any kind of clue. I'll say, okay, go ahead. What is it? And she'll say it's, like it's a circle, and then she'll give me the color, and then she'll tell me what it is. And I'm like, yeah, she's really, really good. And we have that connection very strongly. But I do have that connection with all my children. I've had connections to where I will call my daughter. She's 18 now. I'll call her just to call her because I feel something's not right. And she'll say, Mom, how did you know? She goes, I don't know. I just had a feeling. And so she goes, you called me at just the perfect time. She goes, I was going to do something that wasn't very good. And in your mind, you kept coming through my mind. And so, there's an instance there. And another time with my youngest, I was sleeping in bed, and she had gone to her grandmother's and grandpa's at the beach. And so as she's always had night terrors as a young baby. I mean, as a baby, and she don't anymore. She's almost 12. But for the longest time, she would just wake up screaming. And I woke up out of bed hearing a blood-curdling scream from her. I started to get up and realized she wasn't here. She was at the beach with her grandparents. And I thought, well, that was weird. And I asked my husband to, call his parents in the morning and see how she was, to see if, anything, she had any night terrors. And she did at the time that I heard her have it. So that was a connection, a very strong connection right there.
What didn't you say when you were abducted, they would actually relay information to you, and you were hesitant to talk to other people in town about it because it was a small town?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if these are the beings that are telling me that or what, but yeah, all my life I've had that. I've had to where I would get information to tell someone, or I'd get information that helps me. And usually what I will do is kind of fight it in my own mind where, no, I'm not gonna, no. And then I finally do it, and it ends up being right on. And so I'm having a hard time with that because I don't know how I'm getting that information. It just becomes natural. It's been natural all my life. I can look at someone and I can see so deep inside of them to where if they're smiling and they look on the outside to be happy, I could feel that they're not. And I can sense that what it is, why they're sad. And I've been able to do that for so long that it's gotten me in trouble as a child. I've given a lot of secrets and family secrets away that I didn't know were secret. So they could be, helping me through things too, in a way. Because I am pretty naive. I was naive growing up. And I kind of had this extra help on the side here, helping me through things, I would just know things. I can't even explain it. I would know them without knowing how I know. And I wish I could see. I don't know if I'm... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, now these times that you've been abducted, I mean, they sound like physical abductions. I've talked to multiple people that have claimed to have contact with extraterrestrials, different races and species. Like we had Ray on here the other day, and he was talking about making contact with these dwarfs and, like trolls and fairies and cyclopses and stuff like that. So, but the way that he described some of his experiences, they almost sounded more, I guess you could say, mental. And I've talked to some people that feel they've made contact via spiritual connection, but not physical. And your description, I mean, that reminds me of the book Communion that was turned into a movie. Christopher Walken was in it, based on experiences that, was it Strebert? I can't remember the gentleman's name, that actually had these experiences where physical experiments done on him that hurt and painful. So I'm wondering if there's a way to do a good enough hypnosis session regression for you to where you could actually give details of what these beings look like. I've interviewed a gentleman by the name of Daryl Sims, which claims to used to work for the CIA, and he might still work for him and says that he doesn't. I don't know, but he calls himself the Alien Hunter, and he says he's been abducted many times, and his son has been abducted also. He claims that most people that do have these abductions, it stays in the family, and that would make sense if there's certain DNA strands, etc., that they need to use for maybe a hybrid type situation. Maybe that's. Have you ever considered that they if they use you as like use your eggs and then they create some type of hybrid or something?
Yeah, I did have a situation. I even thought about that. I'm a pretty healthy person, like I said. I never go to the hospital, never go to the doctor, hardly ever get sick.
Oh,
I
you must
ended
not
up
get
having,
vaccinated twice a year then.
I don't get any
Good
vaccines.
for
No,
you.
no. I actually ended up having a anaphylactic shock for no reason. My face was distorted. Couldn't, had no idea how it happened, but you couldn't even recognize me. I just woke up that way. And so my husband took me to emergency, and they got me in. They gave me Benadryl intravenously and gave me some whatever they do, I guess saline and they took my blood. And I said, well, they asked me if I wanted to donate it, and I said no, because I've read some stuff about, what they do sometimes to the blood,
Sure.
unless I know. So, and unfortunately, we didn't have insurance at that time, so we had to pay for everything. And his insurance was just getting ready to kick in, but that's another story. So I said, okay, can you test my blood and see what may have caused this reaction? And they said, sure, and so I waited about a week. I called and I said, did you get my results in to my testing? Oh, no. And I'm like, okay, so I'm waiting a little longer and nothing. So they send me a bill not too long after that, and I'm just like, okay, so what about my blood? What did you guys find out? I mean, I could have died. You guys are telling me I could have died if I didn't get to the hospital fast enough. And you take my blood and they said, we never took your blood. I said, what? My husband was with me. I even remember the lady's name, and it's like they were trying to get in fast to get my blood. They had no record of taking my blood. They said they never took it.
That's
They took my
spooky.
blood. Yeah, they took my blood, and I have a B blood. I don't know. That's still B blood runs in my family and B. So, yeah, they never took, I don't know what they did with it. I have a feeling I know what they did with it, but, they needed it for something.
Did they look any
And then,
different? Like the people that took your blood, the reason I'm asking this is I'm wondering if there was some type of covert organization, some clandestine operatives that know who you are and about the experiences you have. So they went in there, grabbed the blood, took off, and then so the
yeah,
hospital didn't know because they really didn't check your blood. I don't know.
right. And they were in there kind of fast. They were trying to move quickly, not speak very much. The only person that was really speaking was the young guy that had the IV in me, doing putting the Benadryl in me. And I just got a weird feeling about the whole situation. And then my daughter, the one I was abducted with, ended up having anaphylactic shock like a week after I did. We thought, well, this is really strange. What's causing this? And so this time I had Benadryl at home, and I gave it to her before we went to emergency. And they said, I go, can you take blood? We don't do that here. I said, what? That's how I found out. They told me they don't take blood at the hospital in the emergency room. They just don't do that. I said, you guys took my blood. Well, that's weird because we don't do that. And I said, huh, okay. And then by the time she was seen, I decided not to go through with any of it because the Benadryl I had given her was starting to wear off. So I left. I didn't even go into the emergency. I just was in the waiting room waiting. I said, I'm out of here. And she was fine. But there was something kind of strange about this whole situation, with the hospital. I don't trust doctors. And
Rightfully so.
I've had many experiences with doctors where I just don't trust them. So yeah, that's another experience. And then down in my basement, we have a daylight basement where a family room. When my youngest daughter was about, oh gosh, I'm thinking she was 2 or 3. I might be wrong on that age, but I was sitting on the couch and she was crying, holding her head, and I didn't know why she was crying and holding her head. Every once in a while that would happen to her. So I was kind of worried, should I take her to emergency? Or, I'm thinking to myself, because it's just her and I at this point. My other daughter's at school and my husband's at work. And so as I'm thinking about what I'm going to do, I'm holding her and I look down my hall and there's a black hooded type figure standing in my hallway, staring at me, watching me with my daughter. It's kind of moving its head left to right, kind of like observing, but I couldn't see any eyes. I can only see the form of a black like hood cape thing. But I could feel the feeling of it watching us. And I look up and it doesn't know that I could see it. And I'm shocked that I can actually see it. So I'm staring at it, watching us. And when it knows that I'm staring at it and can see it, it freaks out and runs and just disappears. And I'm thinking, what the heck was that? And I was really furious because I was thinking, is this thing causing this headache? Or what is this? But it didn't appear to be, it was afraid of me when I noticed it. So that's how I know that it wasn't hurting us, because it was just observing us. So I don't know. That was another instance.
I've heard of entities that kind of latch on to children and feed off of them because they're an easier target, like in different dimensions and astral realms. So what you bring up is very interesting. And, most people can only see, I brought this up several times before, 0.01% of the electromagnetic light spectrum. And then the brain filters out about 50% of that based upon your life experiences. So there's a lot of stuff out there that we can't see. And it sounds to me like your eyes are picking up part of the light spectrum that most people don't have options to see. So there's maybe these different entities and energies that are actual beings just like us, but in a different dimension per se. So they can kind of walk in and out of the shadows. And then when they realize they're being spotted, they take off. I've heard of stuff like that before. So a lot of what you're saying, Kimberly, correlates with other people that I've talked to that have had multiple encounters with extraterrestrials, just very eerie similarities. So that's fascinating. And so after that happened, walk us to the next event, if you would.
Let's see. Something else that's happened. It's just so sporadic. I mean, I have I've taken pictures, and I don't know if this kind of doesn't have anything to do with the abduction thing, I don't think, but whenever my husband and I are out and about, like we've gone to McMinimum's, where they have beautiful artwork, and it's like a hotel where people can stay, and they have a restaurant in there. It's like a pub and a hotel at the same time. I don't know if you know McMinimum's, but we had gone there and I was taking pictures. And as I was taking pictures, I just felt compelled to snap pictures here and there. And when I got them home and put them on my laptop, I had a figure of a little girl staring at the camera, and you could see her so clearly. And she had a cat with stripes next to her. And I thought, oh my gosh, am I really seeing this? And I see things in pictures quite often. I can even be looking like online at maybe a yard sale, look at their pictures. Sometimes I could see, like one time I seen a dog in the garage on a rug where they had stuff on a table, and it was looking up at the camera, but it was in spirit. It was the dog that used to live there. And I've actually showed my husband, I said, do you see that? And sometimes people can't, but then if I show them, they'll say, yeah, I see it now. And I don't know if they're saying that because, I see it. there was another instance. See, I'm just remembering all these. I'm just kind of throwing them all into one. But
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
uh, there was my husband was taking a picture of me at my laptop downstairs in our family room, just with the camera, the kind that you can look at the picture right away. You know, he took a picture, and part of it had me in it, and a corner of it had some figure, just like you and me, standing in the corner of my film, of my camera. And I said, "Who is that? Look at this." And we tried to zoom in on it, and we put it on the laptop, and we zoomed in on it real close, and you could see the hand with like a vase, and the person is actually is sitting right in front of my plant on my desk. Like, you can't even see my plant. And it's a male, dark hair, and he's holding this vase, and there's this wispy mist around his hand, and it looks like he has his finger on the top of this vase, and it almost looks like a Navajo or some type of vase with a gold top. And we could not figure, so somebody was standing there, but we didn't see them. The camera caught the person. And we were just freaked at this for like forever because it was not an orb, which we usually get around us all the time. It was actually a physical person. But the face was a little distorted, so you couldn't really, and it was off the very, very edge of the film, when you look at the camera, the very edge of it. So it was off to the right, and I was off to the left. And you can only zoom in so far. But you can see the details of the fingers and everything. And so there's things that are around all the time. But I feel like there are things, too, that feed on, especially now, and I've watched this happen in my own family, where one person will be negative, and you can see it jump from one person to the next person for no reason. And it'll just be like an argument, a whole big, for no reason. And so, to me, that's a negative entity or negative whatever it is. But yeah, normally I don't really physically see too much, only in my intuition, in my, inner. On my outer, I usually do not see, like I seen the cape, the hooded guy. That was kind of different for me to see that. And so I think that's why they haven't shown themselves to me, the beings, because I would probably freak out. I mean, I don't know. Seeing the pictures of some of these, I probably would.
Well, and do you ever hear buzzing sounds or
Yes.
Okay. How
Yes,
often?
I do. All the time. I hear them all the time. I hear like, it's not all day long, but I hear it quite often, where I'll just be standing or sitting, whatever it may be, or I'll talk to someone, and all of a sudden my ear, I'll hear something. There'll be a buzz, and I'll hear like a little bit of, in the other ear, a little bit of talking, but I can't quite make it out. Sometimes I'll feel the energy just change in the whole room, and I'll hear that buzzing sound, or I'll hear something within my space. But and sometimes when I go to bed, I'll hear it as well when I'm getting ready to go to bed. In fact, the other night, I thought my husband had gotten up and was just standing by the bed. And I go, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" I thought he was standing there looking at me, and I thought it was kind of weird. And then all of a sudden he says, "I'm trying to sleep." And he was actually in bed sleeping. And I thought, well, and then the next day I said, "I thought you were up sitting there staring at me." And he goes, "No, I was sleeping." I said, "Well, something was looking over at me on your side of the bed, standing up. I felt it, and I could see a form." And I thought it was him.
Now, have you ever seen a shadow figure manifest?
Into like a physical, the only shadow thing that I see things move like how do I want to say it? Energy. I can see energy. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Describe it for us, if you would. Geometrical shapes
Okay.
or patterns?
Yeah, ever since I was real little, I will see in the dark space different like little tiny little lights in different colors. And sometimes they'll be in like a little mass in one little area. And I don't know what that is, but I've seen that since I was little. And but the energy I see all the time, it is like, okay, the way to describe it is if you were to see gasoline being poured on a hot day and you could see the vapors of it,
I know what you mean.
that's what I see. And sometimes I can see that next to people, or I can see it by itself, just in like an area. And that could be the ETs. I don't know. It's natural for me to see that. I think sometimes when you have chaos too, when you have a lot going on, it's hard to focus for me. Like I've wanted to be in a group where I can be around people to maybe focus, maybe be calm because I'm always on the move doing things. Let's see, I'm trying to think of any more experiences.
Have you ever noticed any strange phenomenon with like low flying helicopters, what looks like strange surveillance or stalking type stuff?
Yep, I seen that years back even to just recently. I was outside on my hammock, and we live on about 6 acres, and it's private. I have a gate where I keep it shut, so no one. And I happened to be laying on my hammock, and it was early in the morning, so I had my robe on, so no one could come up and see me anyway, because it was nice, beautiful day. And all of a sudden, this helicopter comes out. It's a black helicopter, and the doors were open, and you could see guys in there in uniforms looking down in my space, just looking down. I'm thinking, what the heck is this? And they just kept going. But I'm thinking, that's invading my privacy. And I was a little bit upset about it.
Sure.
But it happens quite often. Just 2 days ago, I took my dogs out to go to the bathroom. I have 3 little dogs. And I noticed there was an eagle, and we haven't seen eagles in a while, in the tree. And then I noticed another one in the other tree, and I thought, well, that's weird to see 2 right in between me where I'm at and my dogs. And then this helicopter comes straight over in line with me, and the eagle's like right over me and just keeps going. And I'm like, well, that was weird. And when this first started with all my experiences, I tried to reach out to different types of people for my experiences and tried to open up a little bit. And I tried to open myself up to some members on MUFON. And there was a lady I was talking to, one of the, I don't know, every time I talked to her, there was weird stuff going on in my house. Things would go off, electrical stuff would happen, and on her part. So I thought, you know what, that kind of scares me. I don't want to do that anymore. So I just kind of went away from it and said, nah, I don't want this. So it's like I want to know what this is about, but I guess there's that part of me that's like, well, should I do that or should I not? But it's been happening all my life, so.
And you know what I've noticed too is lately it seems like even the mainstream media is really pushing this possibility of extraterrestrials and space brothers and just the phenomenon itself. Even if Netflix has all sorts of series now and documentaries about the dark side of the moon, artifacts and structures, ancient structures on different planets in our solar system. I talked to Stanton Friedman just a couple days ago. He was the original civilian researcher with Roswell, and he's a nuclear physicist and just brilliant guy, real fun to talk to as well. And he even made it just very clear that with the size of the universe, it's mathematically impossible not to have other planets with life on it. And it's always just been fascinating to me, the possibilities, this X-Files type stuff. And it's just amazing to get experiences and, listen to people's experiences like yourself, Kimberly. I got to tell you, not only have you brought the hair up on my arms a couple of times, the back of my neck, you've also expanded my mind quite a bit. And, it's just fascinating. So If we could also, I'd like to ask you, have you ever had an out of body experience?
Um, when I was younger, actually, I've had it quite a bit to where, you mean at will, where I can do it?
Well, not even necessarily at will, but have you ever actually found yourself floating out of your body, looking at your surroundings and realizing that you're literally having an out of body experience?
If I can remember, I thought there was one time that that happened. Um, I've actually had myself go out, knew I was going out of my body, and it was just an experiment I tried. And it happened to be a guy I was dating at the time, and I was pretty young. This is before I was married. And I went over to his house, went through his door. I actually went like as if I was driving to his house. Went up to his door, opened the door, went in, and told him to give me a call. I'm like, call me, because I wanted him to call me. I wanted to see if it would work. And I could see him wrestling around, like he could hear me, but he was sleeping. It was night. And I kept doing it, and I kept doing it, and I thought, this has to work. This has to work. And he called me. And I go, why are you calling me so late? Because I didn't want to tell him what I did. I pretty much kept it secret.
Are you serious?
Some of the, yes, yes. And I said, why are you calling me this late? And he goes, I don't know. I just had a dream to call you. And I said, oh, okay. But I already knew it was me that went over to his house. And that was the first time that I had done that. And I thought, wow, there's really something to this. You could actually, I never really developed that fully. But, I could dream. My dreams can tell me what's going to happen the next day. I've had that. I've had premonitions, and the next day they come true. Like, before I went to work, I knew my boss wanted to talk to me about something, and she stood next to me, and I said, "You want to talk to me?" And she goes, "Yeah, how did you know?" And I go, "Oh, I don't know," because I didn't want to tell her that I already knew that
Right.
she wanted to talk to me, because she would get creeped out over that. And I think it's kept me from really having close friends, because I am an open person and I am outgoing, but I've learned to kind of keep things to myself, which is really hard to do. And it's hard also having friends and being able to sense when they're true friends or not.
Uh-huh.
Just with all kinds of people. So it's actually, the more in tuned I am, it keeps me from wanting to be around people. And I don't think that's a good thing, really. It's because I can sense, it's almost like if you can read people all the time, it would be, if we could read people's thoughts all the time, we'd probably be in fights quite a bit. We'd probably kill each other. I can't do it that good, but there are times when I can really, like that person, I don't like what they're thinking, or that person's not good. Or I used to be a grocery checker, and I remember, this is when I was pretty young, and before I even really was into on any of this stuff, I would kind of ignore it and push it to the side. I've always been sensitive, but I would just ignore it and just think that's the way it is. I remember checking this girl out, her stuff, and I had a big line. And I thought she said something to me, that you're going too slow. And I couldn't believe she said that to me. And I said, well, is this fast enough for you? And she gave me a weird look. And then she said to her friend, did I say that out loud? And she goes, no, but I heard it out loud. And she just kind of gave me a weird look. And I thought, whoa, how did I hear that loud? And it was, that's when I knew something was a little different, because I could hear it like it was you and I talking.
I've talked to other people that have had an experience like that where they actually heard it out loud, but the person didn't say it. They just literally thought it. And then when they both confirmed that, they were both kind of shocked. So that's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had that? Has it happened since?
Yeah, it happens mainly with my family, because I'm not really around too many people.
But you hear it, you still hear it like you did that time, like they're just talking out loud?
Yeah, like sometimes my husband, like, he'll say something and I'll think he said it out loud, and I'll say something back in reaction to it, to react to it. And he's like, I didn't say that. I go, yeah, you did. I heard it. He goes, no, I didn't. I go, I heard it. And then he says, well, I was thinking it. And I said, well, I heard it. And then I get upset, you know. And my daughter thinks I'm calling her name sometimes when I'm getting ready to, but I haven't said it out loud. You know, so it's kind of like within my little circle at home, you know, with my kids and
The bad call.
yeah, yeah. So when they try to, my daughter goes, Mom, were you calling me? And I go, no. And she says, I'm hearing your voice calling me. I said, well, I was thinking about it. And it happens with my mom also, you know, where I'll be calling her just for no reason out of the blue. And she'll go, you must have knew I was going to call you. And I said, I don't know. I just called. So it's very, it's almost normal, that kind of thing. You know, if I get the feeling, I just do it.
Sure.
And I don't have any reason for it. I just do it. And it's, I've learned to just listen to those feelings. Sometimes I'll be driving and I'll decide I want to go a different area, a different direction. And that's happened many times. And then there'll be a wreck. And that happened a few years back. Where I live, there's multiple fatalities. I live off of a dangerous highway. And I had gone to the post office, spur of the moment, instead of coming right home. It was like I had no plans to go, but then I thought, oh, yeah, I'll go to the post office and get my mail. And so then as I'm coming back from the post office, an accident happens like a few cars ahead of me. It's a multiple fatality. And, you know, and if I would have just those few seconds, you know, we would have been involved in that. Just enough time. And so it was like, okay. And then one time, my daughter and I, the one that was abducted, we were in the car driving, and I said, I need to pull over here and go to this shop. She goes, what? And I go, yeah, I have to. There's a reason why I have to. I don't know what it is. And so I pull over. It's a bead shop, and there's a tattoo parlor attached to it. And she's always wanted to get a tattoo. And I'm like, I don't want you getting a tattoo ever. You know, you're young. And, you know, so anyway, we walk in there because she wanted to see what it was like. There's a guy doing a tattoo. And before we went there, I told my daughter that I had seen, and I can't remember what the shape was. I said, there's something in there. And I described it to her before we went in. So we went into the tattoo shop. And I wanted to go into the bead shop, but we went into the tattoo shop. And this guy was doing a tattoo. And I go, oh, what are you doing a tattoo of? And it was the exact thing I described before we stopped. And my daughter looked at me and she goes, Mom, that's weird. And I said, well, and then the lady described to my daughter that you should not get a tattoo. And she was giving her the whole lecture of a tattoo, you know, at your age. And I thought, well, that's why I'm supposed to stop. And it just made perfect sense, but I didn't understand it. I don't understand things until after it's completed, you know, and then because I'm not supposed to, I guess, you know. We went to what is it? The Panda, you know, that restaurant Panda.
Yep.
We went there to get something to eat. It was my two daughters and I, and just to get a little lunch. And I kept getting this urge to tell the manager there, everything's going to be fine, not to worry. And I'm like, I'm not going to do it. In my mind, I'm fighting it, saying, no, I'm not going to do it. There's people around. It's busy. They're going to think I'm weird. He's going to think I'm weird. I can't do it. And so I fought it the whole time. And then we're getting ready to leave. I have my drink with me, and it's all gone as I get in the car. And I said, girls, I'm going to be right back. I got to go put this in the garbage. So I thought there was a garbage outside, but I had to go inside, and it was right inside the door, and he was standing right there. And I thought, well, this is a good time. There's not really many people around now, and he's right there. I could just tell him real fast and then run out the door. Because I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to do this. So I said, okay, hi, I'm here to give a message. He goes, oh, are you from the hospital? And I said, no, because I didn't know what he was talking about. And I go, well, sometimes I get messages, and I'm just telling you everything's going to be okay and not to worry. And then I wanted to run, and my face was turning red. And he goes, oh, are you from the hospital? And I said, no, I'm not. He goes, well, my wife is in the hospital, and she's going to be coming home, and she's bedridden. I'm going to have to take care of her. So I really appreciate that. And I said, oh, no problem. And I just went out the door, and I thought, oh, my gosh. But that's the message I was supposed to give. I had no idea what it was about, and I really didn't want to know. I was embarrassed at this point, but it ended up being good. but my ego was in the way, and I had to just, it's hard to just push it to the side, because people make fun of you. I know there's a better purpose for me, and I really would like to use myself to, do whatever I'm supposed to be doing. And I don't know if it's what I'm doing now. I mean, because I'm at home and I'm a housewife, and I don't really get out too much. So if I'm just supposed to give people messages and random, then I guess that's what I do. I don't know.
Are you getting any messages right now?
I'm trying to.
Take your time.
I think I'm just blank. I'm blank. And this is how it works. I don't try to do it. It just happens. I don't know if I need to develop it probably to where I can control it better. And this is why I probably need more, more help on it.
Sure.
Because it just happens randomly. I'll, like, for instance, my husband and I see things, like we've been in partnerships before, and I told him, no, I don't trust that guy. I don't trust him. He might be really nice on the surface, but I think he'd take advantage of us. I really don't. And he's like, well, he's a nice guy, and I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm like, I don't really feel good about this. And then he ended up taking us for like $25,000. So I was just like, I'm not going to rub it into you, I told him, but I wasn't trying to be like a know-it-all. I just didn't feel good about it, because it's hard for a husband when a wife says, no, I don't think so. Because we're both
takes your advice better now.
Sometimes we're both stubborn, and I think nobody can put up with me and nobody can put up with him, because we're very, I guess we're stubborn, and that's just, yeah.
Hey,
but
awesome.
He's come a long way. He really has. He actually had a dream of me flying a spaceship. He said that he goes, I didn't know you knew how to fly one. And I said, what? And he says, yeah, it was like it was real. You were flying a spaceship. And I said, oh, okay. So I don't know. I don't know if he was I don't know.
Now, I want to jump back, if we could, to that time you remember being on the table and the long window. Are there any more details you could give us about that experience, like the color of the walls, the way that it felt, just any sensory perceptions would be?
Okay, when I was under hypnosis, it was just so blinding bright, for me, that I could not see anything around me because it was so bright. It was almost like blinding. It almost felt like it was just white, like everything was white. And it was, I just know that I was scared, because when I seen that thing coming down, I was like, oh my gosh, in my stomach, to me, that looks like it's going to kill my child or kill me, because that's all I can see is this 3 long, in fact, I got spooked out. We had, one of those picker-uppers. I think they have 3 or 4 different little long prongs that picks up olives. And when I seen that, I got a strange reaction, like, oh, I can't touch that. And my husband's like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, that reminds me of what happened. I really don't want to touch that. And then the feeling I got being in that craft was, and I don't even know if these were 2 separate issues, with me seeing the window with, in space, but that feeling I got was not like here. It was like very light, where I almost couldn't feel myself. It was like I could not feel. It was just very airy and very light. I've never felt that feeling before. So whatever they were showing me outside, out the window, there was something there, but I don't know. Maybe I can get, hypnotized through somebody that can help me get those memories, because not all the memories are there. Those are the only memories. And when I was hypnotized before, again, I actually went back to being part of light. It was like I was in space, kind of like the window where I was looking out, but it was like I was a light and we were all one. We were all part of each other. And I went way back. And another time I went back to where before I came to be incarnated into my mother. And they were asking me, are you sure you want to be here? You want to do this? And I was saying, yes, I have to come here. I have to be here. And then I remember it's if I was closing my eyes really tight to get ready for the journey to go in to come here. And when I came here, I opened my eyes and I was in water, like amniotic fluid, and I could see inside of my mother's womb in the water. You could see pieces floating, and that was under hypnosis as well. I realized I didn't have to come here, but I wanted to come here for a purpose.
Also, if I didn't ask you this, and I should have brought this up earlier, but what was your childhood like? And were you religious? Are you religious? A specific nomination? I can definitely tell you're spiritual, or at least it appears that way.
Yeah. When I grew up, my mother and father, they didn't go to church. But I had a wanting to go to church, so I would go. They would send me off on the church bus, and I'd go to church. And so I would just, would learn. And it was kind of like, it was fine for them because I was going somewhere where they would have their free time, I don't know if that's how they thought about it, but it was kind of like I felt it was something I wanted to do. And as a child, even I've always wanted to be a nun. I know that sounds funny now because I'm nothing close to that. But growing up, I always was very, how do I want to put it? I guess I had that natural feeling of wanting to be someone very spiritual. It was a natural instinct, but then in growing up, there was a lot of chaos, a lot of fighting, a lot of dysfunction. My mom and dad split up when I was, let's say 7. They split up and got divorced when I was 9. And then we moved a lot. And that brings me up now that I'm thinking about this and visualizing my childhood. We moved so much, but I remember every time I made a friendship, there would be weird paranormal experiences happen. I remember going to this girl's house, and her lights would go on and off. And she says, "Oh, that's just a ghost." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, it hasn't acted up, but since you're here now, it's acting up." And I thought she was just kidding with me. But it started to happen a lot, where things would happen in the homes and even in my own house growing up. I even had my mom and her mom were pregnant around the same time. So my mom was pregnant at a young age, 14. She had me at 14. And her and my dad were married. My dad was 19. And my grandmother had a child the same age as my younger sister and an older child, or same age as me, a year older. And so she was like my best friend, my aunt. And I would go to my grandma's and stay the night. Well, I was about, I would say 5 at this time. And I remember staying the night over there, and it's like a 3-story home, and the wood stove. The middle floor had the 1 bedroom, a kitchen, and wood floor with wood stove, the living room and all that. And I wanted to stay in front of the wood stove and sleep in a sleeping bag with my aunt. And my great-grandmother lived with my grandmother. And she slept in the room that was to the left of the wood stove, and then the right was the kitchen. And I remember being asleep and feeling a cold breeze come over me. And so I kept my eyes closed and pulled my covers up, but they were already on me. It was going through me. And I didn't understand. So I looked up, and to the right of the wood stove, which was in front of the kitchen area right next to it, my great-grandmother was staring at me. And she was, kind of cocking her head back and forth, staring at me, but the breeze was coming from her. And it was weird and strange for me. So I grabbed the covers and pulled them over my head. And I stayed that way because I was scared. The next morning, I had a weird feeling to go in her room, and I couldn't find her. And I looked all over the house, and I went in her room at least a few times, and I knew she was in there, but I couldn't see her. And the last time I finally went in there, her nightgown was on the bedpost, and she was face down, laying there. And I called for my aunt and everyone to come in because there was something wrong with her. And I remember her lips being blue, and her nails were like a bluish color, and she had dark under her eyes. And I didn't know what death was. I mean, at that age, at 5, it just looked strange to me. And I couldn't explain what happened, and I kept that to myself, her coming to me and waking me up and staring at me. Then, of course, they pulled me to the side, and the next thing I know, I remember ever seeing her as at the funeral. And I had no emotions because I was confused about what happened. And then later on in life, I went to a therapist, and it just comes pouring out of me, this stuff. And I was crying, and I was thinking it was my fault. And was she dead before or after? Why did she choose me? And all this stuff. And come to find out that she knew I was sensitive, and she picked me for some reason. I don't know what the purpose was, other than when my son, which I haven't talked about very much, was about 9 years old. His father took him and dropped him off at the roller skating rink with his friend, which I was upset because I thought that was too young to be dropped off by himself. I was pretty overly protective of my kids. And he says, "Mom, I had this weird experience." And I said, "What?" And he goes, I fell down and hit my head in the skating ring, and it was all black, and I was walking, and there was this lady in a rocking chair rocking. Immediately I thought of my great grandmother, but I didn't say nothing to him. I said, "Can you please describe her to me?" And he described her to the T. And so I had a photograph of her, and I said, "Look at these pictures. Does anybody in here look familiar to you?" And he goes, "Mom, that's the lady." Because he mentioned her name. I mean, she mentioned his name. She goes, "Hi, Brandon." And he goes, "Who are you?" And he was scared. And so he woke up and came to, and some guy was saying, "Are you okay?" in the roller skating rink. So he had told me about that experience. He had actually seen my great grandmother when he had been knocked unconscious. So there was something kind of weird there.
That's amazing. I'll bet that just made
Yeah,
your day to hear that, didn't it?
yeah, it did. I was like, wow. So, because he's sensitive as well. So my whole family, all my kids are. Um, and my mom is, but she chooses not to even go there. So I don't know, but there's just so many. And as I talk to you, I remember more things.
Now, if you can also share with us, you were talking to me before the show about some of your friends out there in that area have had some really interesting phenomenons as well, correct?
Yes. We have a neighbor that is further down the road, probably about a mile. But if you take my house and go straight over, it would go straight over, straight in line with his house. It's on the same side of the highway. And he's like the lawnmower guy. Everybody takes their lawnmower over to get fixed. He can fix anything. But he
I was thinking of
also,
the movie.
yeah. So he was telling us about some of these experiences and that he had even when he lived in New Mexico. He said he had many experiences in New Mexico where he's seen crafts,
Did he say what part of New
spaceships.
Mexico? That's a super hot spot also.
He told my husband where. I don't remember.
Okay.
Um, but he was talking about that, and he said, "I even have pictures, and I'll dig them up for you." But he says he sees them almost nightly go over his house. And what's weird is in his backyard, there's this big opening that he showed us. He said he says he's seen it in his backyard, and he's thrown stuff down there to find out where it ends, and it just keeps going. He's throwing like dishwashers, he's throwing lawnmowers, he's throwing couches, and he doesn't hear it hit the bottom. And that's a little strange. Um, so there's some kind of hole in his yard. He has it covered over the top right now, but It seems like it's endless. And that's closer to the mountain, to Mount Hood, than we actually are. A little closer.
An underground reptilian base.
Yeah. But you want to know something is further up the road, Lolo Pass area. If you go, it's an area where they have, I guess, where the water's supposed to come from for the city or something. I don't know, whatever it is, but they have all over the mountains on the side, on one side of the highway or the road, you're not allowed to go on. And there's water that comes through, and there's like little caves. And I'm like, I wonder what they're hiding here. And my husband and I are kind of like, let's go check it out.
Oh yeah. How far away are you guys from there?
About from Lolo Pass, about 10 minutes.
Oh man,
Yeah,
you
5
got to
10
get out there.
minutes. Yeah, and so we took pictures, and I swear I seen, and I kept saying to my husband when I took pictures deep inside, the like the caves and around them, and because you can't really get to it too real easy, but I know there's something in there they're hiding, reptilians, whatever. And I've always been the kind of person to where if you say I can't, then I'm going to want to, because there must be something that's being hidden there. You're hiding something, there's something there. So I took pictures, and it looks like there's two, I don't know what they are, but they're tiny. And it almost looks like a big-headed, bald-headed, could be an ET, I don't know, with a long-haired, it's like they're lovers, and they're sitting on the top of, I don't know what it is, branches or something, but you can see the long hair of the girl. And I told my husband, do you see this? Because I can see things very clearly. I've taken pictures in the meadow, and I've seen like little fairy things on the little flowers with the wings, and blew them up and said, I swear these are little fairies. So, I mean, I don't know how I could just see these things. I don't see them physically, but I know to take the picture, and there's got to be something there. And so when I bring it home and look, I'm like, I knew there was something there. I see it right here. So there's like I could see it without seeing it, if that makes any sense. It probably doesn't.
No, it does. It's like you're sensing to take a picture, and you're not physically seeing it at that moment, but subconsciously you might be, and then you're just reaffirming it once you have an opportunity to look at the picture.
And usually what it is, it's in the center too. It's right in the center of whatever it is that I'm taking, and yeah, it's really, my daughter had an experience, the one that I told you I was abducted with, at work, about 4 days ago. She said, Mom, this is really weird. And I keep telling her she's got to be careful, with certain, because there's like shapeshifters and soulless people, and I'm learning about a lot of this stuff. And she said, Mom, this lady came into my work, and she works in retail. And she said she wanted me to carry out, it was like a bowl or a basket, and she could take it out just fine herself. But so she had to leave the register and help this lady out. And my daughter was sensing that this lady was like weird, like she kills people, and that she's just like, nobody would think that she does it because she's older, and she seems to be really nice and, like an older lady. So my daughter was thinking this as she's going out the door to help her out to her car. And it's almost like this lady read her thoughts and said, don't worry, I'm close to the store here. I'm real close in front. And I thought, oh my gosh. So then she goes in, the lady opens her trunk, and it's lined with plastic all around. And it has a rope and some duct tape. And my daughter just freaked. She goes, oh my gosh, I was sensing that. And then she was like backing up to go back in the store. And she goes, well, you have a nice day. And the lady's voice changed to a deep voice, like a deeper voice than what she had. And it was kind of cold. And I said, oh my gosh, that might have been, you never know. She said it was really strange. It was like the person's voice changed suddenly from this woman's voice to a deep voice. And I said, well, it was probably a shapeshifter. You probably just encountered one.
Yeah, or a shapeshifter from a nice old lady to a demon-possessed, freaking psychopathic. Oh my.
Well, there's just so many things. I mean, as I talk to you, that's why I'm going back and forth because I'm remembering. We have, it's a pretty small town in Sandy, but we have like a Dollar Tree store and, just Buy Mart and little stores like that. And I go into the Dollar Tree, and this is when I was just starting to touch the surface of weird entities and that were out there it was hard for me to believe that. But I was an open mind. I'm still an open mind person. So anyway, I go in the Dollar Tree, and there's this guy that's really tall, and he has like a big mohawk, and he's wearing like a cape, and he just gives me the creeps as I walk by. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's kind of weird. In my mind, I say that, and he turns around and looks at me, and he's got these slits in his eyes, and I just went, oh, that's real cute. Like maybe I wasn't sure if that was real or if those were contacts, but I could feel a weird feeling from him. And so when I seen that picture that Ray put up, when I talked to Ray, that guy with a mohawk and that cape looked just like that guy that I seen at the Dollar Tree. And I'm thinking, don't people see this? I was thinking to myself, isn't this obvious? Do they not see this? Or is his eyes look different to other people? And it just creeped me out because I got that just creepy feeling when I walked by him, and then I was thinking, ooh, he's creepy. And then he looks over at me. I'm like, ugh. And, there's kids, I think the fad now has been people are dyeing their hair, they're doing mohawks, they're doing weird piercing things. And I think it has to do with the blending in of these weird creature things, because that's kind of what I was getting with this, that they think they can come out now and be in the open because weird is okay now. There's so many different types of the way people dress that it's okay that they would just blend right in.
Now, that one place that you were talking about a moment ago that's kind of off limits, how much security is around that area? I mean, would it be really difficult to get down into
Mm-mm.
those?
Oh, no, no. In fact, my husband went up because I had some kids with me. I had my nephew and my youngest daughter and her friend with us, and they had like a little waterfall area with a little dugout over the little thing, just a little waterfall where you can like splash your feet in. And we weren't supposed to be in there, but we went in there, and somebody had put a little statue of an angel in there. Just a little statue right underneath the waterfall in this little dig out.
Sure.
And my husband actually went over the top where you're not supposed to go and was checking it out. And I was worried that something might happen to him, so I'm like keeping my eye on him, making sure that he doesn't get into trouble, wishing that I could come with him, but I didn't want to leave the kids,
Right.
So, but we thought we'd go back again just by ourselves sometime and check it out. There's no security there. I didn't see any security, just signs posted everywhere.
Would you be able to ever send some of those pictures that you've got of those just incredible phenomenons that?
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I can send you, let's see, I have the picture of, that person in our living room. And there was also another one, and I'll send you that one, of my husband. He took a picture, and it looked like that same person that we see in our living room, which I was thinking was really strange. You know how when you take a photo, sometimes it looks distorted on people?
Yes.
So you can't tell. You just say, oh, that's just the photo. But everything was clear, including me. And there was a figure right next to my face, and you can see the blending of both of our faces, but this person's lips were fuller, and the nose was bigger, and the forehead was different. It was definitely a male presence right next to me in my energy field while I'm looking at the computer. And sometimes the computer goes crazy, and I'm thinking that's probably why. I don't know if that was a astral traveler or what that could have been. Someone coming in my space. I mean, I don't know, but I could send you that picture. I can send you the other picture, and the pictures that I have of the girl and the cat and the fairy ones, those are on a laptop that went down that I'm going to have to find out how to get those out.
Okay.
Because that's been on there for a long, long, long time ago. But the other two I have on my newer laptop.
Great.
And then so there's just just talking to you, I'm just remembering more and more and more.
There's still those three spots there where there's that prong that when you were abducted? Can you still see physical evidence of that?
Yeah, you can kind of see it. You can see the two. Um, yeah, you can see them. You can. Oh, also, I woke up with a scar right on my, like my third eye area. And a woman knows when she gets scars and why and where they come from. I woke up with a scar, and there was no reason for it. So something happened there too. It,
So,
and it's just a long scar right on my, just like some laser or something was put in there.
have you ever thought about getting a black light?
What would that? What?
Okay, if you get a black light and you've been abducted, there
Uh-huh.
is a, or if there's some type of activity there, that there's typically this residue that can be picked up with a black light.
No, but I'm getting one now. They do things too, and I don't know if it's evil or whatever it is because I really don't know. But we've had things missing in our house. My husband's wedding ring came up missing, and not too long after that, my stepdad's wedding ring came up missing, and my husband's brother's wedding ring came up missing. And I just had a friend call me and say he was going to have me try to figure out if I can find a friend of his wedding ring. And I said, well, let me tell you this. This is going to sound crazy because he was gathering information from people he know that could possibly help. And this was the first time I've actually really done this. So I said, sure, I'll give it a try. Then I haven't heard back yet because it's recent. And I said, well, what I seen was his friend at wearing the wedding ring at somewhere in public talking to another gentleman. And there was a hybrid that looked just like you and I that noticed his ring, his gold ring. So whatever the gold is for, it's important. And then he just this hybrid guy, and I know this is so far out there. It's like, are you sure you want me to tell you what happened? Because the ring's not in the house. Because he gave me a map and he said, do you think you can find this ring? I said, it's not in there. It was in there, and I'll tell you where it was. It was right here. And this hybrid came in. You couldn't see him, and he took the ring. And that's all I can give you. So I don't know how you want to give that information, but yeah. I'm just giving you what I got. I don't know. And so he's like, no, that's okay. He goes, I know there's some weird stuff out there. And I was kind of hesitant on that, but I said, you know what? I just got to give it as I get it. And I shouldn't try to downplay it, even if it's so far out there, because when I do that, I get my own ego, my own stuff involved in it. And that doesn't work. I've learned that. I just have to just do it. Just give it like it is. And some people may not like it and some people will appreciate it.
Have you ever
So,
have you ever wondered what the future holds? Have you put into consideration the possibilities of, events in the future that could take place are going to be pretty serious? So maybe you have the opportunity to divert that or help avoid that because of your abilities and what has happened to you in your life.
I feel like I could do more. Like I said, I kind of feel like I'm stuck. Like I should be able to do more. I feel I have the ability to do more. I just need to tap into those abilities. And it's hard because I really don't have, it would be nice to have someone else to work with, to help with that and to have confirmation and to be able to feel good about going further without feeling like I got other things to do and I can't do that because I have to put that on the back burner. Because being a wife and a mom, I always put those first. And also taking care of animals and plants and everything else. I always put myself last. And if I just be selfish a little bit, which is hard for me to do, I might be able to be more helpful because I came here for a purpose, and I know I did because I seen it when I was hypnotized. I seen that I did not have to come here, but I needed to come here because it was my choice to come here to help with something, and it could be this time right now. And I feel like I'm here for this time, whatever this time is coming to help other people.
And that experience that you had when you tried to have an out of body experience and you were actually able to, so I shouldn't say try because you made it happen, and you affected your boyfriend at the time to actually call you and you could see that and then you just stopped doing it. There's a book out there called The 90-Day Guide to Astral Projection, and it actually teaches you a step-by-step guide how to have these out of body experiences. With that type of ability to do that naturally, if you could master that, you could have a huge impact on society if you really think about it, because just imagine the possibilities of being able to influence people that you're not going to have access to via telephone or publicly because they're, hard to get to. And if you could do the right thing and help influence them towards the positive, for the benefit of Earth and people and future, etc., that'd be pretty amazing. So something to consider. It's called 90-Day Guide to Astral Projection by Robert Bruce. That would certainly give you a jump start with your abilities. I mean, wow,
Robert Bruce.
I can only imagine. We're gonna try and get him on the show. Just the book itself, I actually went through it, and it works. So there's a gentleman by the name of James Gilliland that we've had on the show. He's has the ECTI Ranch, it's called, and he is in Oregon as well. I think actually possibly out by where you're at. You might want to look into his website, because he can actually contact these extraterrestrials and space brothers via
Is
thought.
is that ECETI? ECETI
Yes.
Ranch?
Yes.
Okay, what's funny is my husband and I we always wanted to go out there, and this particular day that we went out there, we went out to go to the ranch. We couldn't find it. We kind of got lost, and then there was a fire. Just happened to be a fire right on the mountain there, and we got pictures of it. It just started. It hadn't even been reported yet, and it started getting really thick. And when we asked people where it was. It looked like the gate was closed and there was nobody there, and it didn't say it was ECETI Ranch. So I was like, are we in the wrong place? So we ended up heading back home, and we were really disappointed, because that was something that we wanted to do together, because he's open too.
Right. Yeah, he's great guy.
He's seen my abilities. I mean, we've had multiple fatalities, like I said, that happened on our highway. Our road was blocked off, and we walked down our driveway, because we have a really long driveway, to see what happened. And they put a cable divider in front of the driveway, so we have to go toward the mountain and turn around to go back into Sandy. So we can't just go left to go into Sandy. We have to go all the way down and turn around. And they had it blocked off. And we asked the officer, what happened? And he says, well, I'm not authorized to tell you, only that it's a multiple fatality. And so we walked. He says it's going to be blocked off for a while. So we walked up the driveway, and I started thinking about it, and I felt like whoever it was with me. And it was really a strange feeling. I got a weird feeling from it. So I said, well, I'll just hop in the shower, and then I'll, when I'm done, maybe it'll be over with and we can leave. So as I'm in the shower, I asked to myself, I wonder what happened. And this is when it really hit me strong. I see this vision of a boy with a jersey outfit in my mind's eye, in the shower. And I'm thinking, oh, are you involved in the accident? I'm asking. And I said, what is your name? Because I wanted a name to prove it. And he said, my name is Tyler Williamson. Just like that. No even trying to figure it out. It was just first last name. And I said, oh my gosh, to myself. And then I said, well, just go to the light, because I figured he was involved in it. Go to the light and go to God. Just go to the light. So that's all I knew to do. It was just an instinct. So I told my husband, I said, what happened? And he probably thought I was crazy at this point, because it was so matter of fact. So he says, well, when we watch the news, 5 o'clock news, we'll see what happened. So we watched the news, and it was a multiple fatality. A mother in a minivan on her way to Welch's Little League with her 9-year-old son and 9-year-old friend, Tyler Williamson, and little infant sister, I think 23-month-old. She was pulled out of the car and thrown down the highway. It was really graphic. And the mother died. The little girl died. The son lived. The friend, Tyler Williamson, died. And he was wearing his jersey outfit. And then I knew that He came to me. I don't even know if he came to me like my grandmother did when I was 5. He came to me. I don't know if he was confused, and it was just I was confused because I'm like, is he dead or is he not dead? Or so the only thing I could say was just go to the light, be with God. And then it was just spot on. And then those abilities don't seem to be as strong as they used to be. I feel like I'm blocked somehow, or I'm just not, I don't know. But that was a real major one. That was like right in my face.
Is that really difficult for you? I mean, do you get emotional when stuff like that happens, or after the fact when you think about it?
Oh yeah, it impacted my whole family. I mean, we went and brought flowers, and it was so fresh because he was so young, 9 years old, you know. And I went to the Mind Body Spirit show in Portland, the expo show,
Uh-huh.
and I wanted to go there, and I had gone there by myself, and I wanted to kind of see if I can get answers and maybe something, because this stuff was just coming through me, and I didn't know what to do. So I happened to go there, and this is how this works. This is so strange. So I go there, and I run into a girl that I used to work with. And she says, "Oh, how are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm fine." And then I felt like I needed to tell her my experience about the little boy. And she stopped dead in her tracks. And she says, "Oh my gosh, that was the sister that works with me. She's my employer." I said, "What?" It just happened to be that that the lady I was talking to was the manager, and that was the girl that worked for her sister that died in the accident. She goes, "Do you mind if I give her your number so she can talk to you? She has questions." I said, "Oh, wait a minute. I don't know how to do this." I mean, because that's what I said. I go, what am I supposed to say to her? Because that's a touchy subject. Her sister
Yeah.
and her niece died, and what do I say? I mean, I don't know. So I said, "Okay, fine, I'll just go with it," because that was by chance that she happened to be there and I happened to go, and that happened to be said, and that was on my mind. And she's like, "Yeah, she works with me." So it's like we were supposed to meet. She was supposed to, everything was supposed to happen the way it did. So the girl calls me, and I'm like, "Oh, I don't know what to say." So she asked me questions, and I just try to answer them, honestly, as best as I can, to go back to that, which I didn't really know how. I just did it. And she was just like testing me. Was his hat on or off? Those kind of things. Did she have any messages? Did he have any messages? And I'm like, "No, just the little boy that was the friend, that's only, it was kind of that way." So,
Well, I'm sure it
and
gave
then,
them some closure.
yeah, yeah, but it was just so weird how the whole thing happened, It was just like, I just kind of knew what to do. I mean, I think that made the little boy feel better, but yeah, it was emotional for me and my family because, being so young and then dying in the way that he did was kind of really sad. And then, I've seen rapes and murders before, and I haven't seen that at all since the last time I did. And I actually called the police where it happened, and I think he probably thought I was just really weird, but I couldn't keep it to myself, because I had names and I had what happened, you know.
How did you see
Uh,
it, if you don't mind me asking?
just it was like I just seen it like a movie in my head. It was like, and I didn't ask for it to come. That
And
was what's
sorry to interrupt, but
weird.
it happened when you walked past a certain area, like, or was it just in your, in your house, or?
When I was getting ready to fall asleep, I used to get everything and I think it's because I was calm at that time because I have so much going on during the day and I'm always busy doing for other people in my house that I really don't focus that much on anything else but taking care of everybody. That when I would go to sleep, that's when spirits would come in. And that hasn't happened at all. I mean, in a long time. So I think, like I said, I might be blocked somehow. I don't know if that's the mark that they did on my head, if there's a reason for that, because it was coming in so fast
Is
for
that when
me.
it started, like, or is that when it stopped or slowed down?
Yeah. Yeah. When I got that scar, I didn't have that anymore.
Oh,
When the
geez.
scar happened, it was like I felt like something was slowing. I mean, I still have abilities, but they were so strong to where I mean, I would have people that have died come and tell me their name and tell me how they died, and I would see what they look like. They tell me their first name, their last name. Sometimes I look in the obituary and I'd see the name that the person that came to me, and I'd be like, what do I do with this? It was so strong, and then it just like slowed down, and then it kind of stopped. So, I mean, it was just, I think because I didn't know what to do, I was just so overwhelmed with the information that was coming so fast to me. I would get on the computer and I'd start looking up the names, and it was just driving me crazy. And then I'd write down the names by my bed, and I just got to the point where, what do I do? How do I find any of these people, or should I?
That's fascinating. And I also wonder, how long was it very strong? Like you were having these, you said they were coming to you every single night and telling you their names and you were looking them up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it went on for a long time. I mean, most of the time that I've lived here, it's gone on up until the last, maybe, I would say, few years or so. Yeah. I mean, I mean, I still get some, but now I'm not remembering my dreams as much as I did before. I mean,
Okay.
I would see color, details, remember everything. I even had a cat at one time, a physical cat, one that I had saved from suffocating from the sack when it was born. So I decided to keep it because of the bond.
Uh-huh.
And he was kind of an indoor-outdoor cat, and he used to have a litter box in the house, and we decided to get rid of it because he only went outside to go potty. And I was dreaming, I was sleeping, dreaming, and all of a sudden a litter box was shown in my dream that I was dreaming, which made no sense at all. I'm thinking, what the heck? So it woke me up out of my dream, and I felt someone staring at me, and I look over to my nightstand, and my cat is looking at me at 3 a.m, and I look over at him, and I'm like, you gotta go potty? And he goes, meow, because he would do that to me when I asked him. I'd like, are you serious? Now the cats are waking me up. This is crazy. So then I let him out, and I wait for him, and then he comes back in. I'm like, this is really just nuts. Does this happen with anyone else? I was thinking to myself. I'm so sensitive that when I go to someone's house, I mean, when I was younger, if I'd go to someone's house, I would feel their plant need to be watered. It'd be like, it was an obsession, like, it's bothering me. I need to water your plant. It needs water. And I'm a plant person too, so I've got plants all around my house. I can tell when there's something wrong with the animals. I've had my mother-in-law's dog. I said there's something wrong with her dog, and she says, oh no, it's fine. And of course I don't want to argue and make myself sound like, I don't want to be in an argument with my mother-in-law. So I'm just like, okay. So all of a sudden, about a few days later, the dogs quit eating. Wouldn't eat. They took it in, and it had cancer all through its body, and they had to put it down. And the same thing happened with my neighbor. Their dog, I said something about their dog, if it was okay. And oh yeah, it's fine. And I looked at the dog, and I was touching it, and I just knew that it was sick, but it didn't look sick. And then they called us and said they had to put their dog down because it had cancer through its whole body. But I don't make a big deal about it to people, so they don't really know that when I say something to them about it, because I don't make it obvious that I told you so. I just kind of go, oh, okay. Because I'm not very, I don't know what you want to say. It saddens me when I say something and people don't take it seriously, and then something like that happens.
Do you think that the ETs that have abducted you are good or bad?
Well, the ones that were communicating with me when I was looking out the window seemed to be good. I mean, I don't remember seeing them. I felt like I was just still, like I couldn't move. They told me that they weren't going to hurt me, that everything was going to be okay. So they were doing something when I was pregnant with my daughter. They were doing something to her. I don't know what it was. She was actually in my womb 10 months instead of 9. She stayed in there an extra month.
Interesting.
And I tried to tell them, when she was trying to come, that it was probably the right time for her to come. And they said no, because she's smaller than she should be. And I said, okay. So they told me to take a pill to stop the contractions. And I didn't feel good about it, but, I did it anyway against how I felt. And so she had actually turned. And I said, oh, okay, I'll take it. And so it stopped my contractions. And then the next month, she started to come. And my midwife was out of town, so I had one that I didn't know deliver her, and they said that she was a month old already. And I said, oh, okay. So she stayed in the oven an extra month, and she's perfectly healthy.
That's great.
Yeah. So that's, lots of stuff. I don't know if it's normal that what's happened to me, because I don't really talk to other people, or they don't, about their stuff. I do see colors in my mind. I mean, I do see them swirling in different colors sometimes. I wanted to mention something to you that I just remembered that's real quick. When I was in high school, I think I was 13 or 14. And I lived are you there? Hello?
I'm here, 100%. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't hear you. Okay. When I was about 13 or 14, I lived in Selwood, and I had to take the bus to Portland area, to the TriMet bus, in order to go to school, because they didn't have a bus that went from Selwood to the school I went to. And I remember getting off one of the buses to take another bus, and I was getting ready to step off of, there's this busy street on 17th, Southeast 17th area in Portland. And as I was getting ready to step off the curb, something grabbed me by the neck, by the shirt, pulled me back with force, and a semi-truck came by me, and my hair flew in my face. I went to turn around to see who it was, and there was no one there, not even nobody. And I thought, what the heck just happened? Somebody just saved my life from being killed. So I know I'm here for a purpose, because either that was a guardian angel, or whatever you want to call it. It saved. I did not see it. I just felt it. It physically pulled me as fast right back. And I was actually ready to get that person that grabbed me, because I was thinking, what are you doing? But then I realized the semi truck came by, and my hair just went shoo. So it was like a quick instant of being saved by an unseen force. And it always stuck in my mind of, obviously I'm meant to be here for something, because I was pretty careless and could have been killed. I was at McMinimum's, because my husband and I went back there a few times to see if I can almost call an orb, if you want to call it an orb or whatever it is, to me in a picture. I can do that, yeah. And I wanted to try and get this cat. It was on, I can't remember what floor, I think the second floor or the third floor at McMinimum's, where they have a cat on the door. And they actually do have a cat, a ghost cat there, is what they told me. And it was a striped cat. So the cat I seen was the cat that's there. And I called the cat to me, and I thought it was to the left side of me, and I had my husband take a picture. And so I have my arm out to have the cat on me, and we get the picture back, and the cat is actually on my right shoulder in an orb form. You could see its face. Mm-hmm. I'll send those pictures to you. I'll probably have to do it tomorrow. It's about midnight here.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You have a good night. You take care.
You too.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Hey folks, Rex Bear here with Leak Project. We have an exclusive interview for you with lifetime contactee, Kimberly Busselar. Living close to Mountain Hood, Oregon, a hotspot of paranormal activity, including UFO sightings and other phenomenons. She reached out to us a couple weeks ago and has given us the opportunity to hear about some of her incredible encounters on the paranormal. When Kimberly was pregnant with her second child several years ago, she was abducted and taken into a spacecraft with a long window that overlooked the stars. Mrs. Busselar gets into the details and has scars on her stomach to this day from that experience. Kimberly has encountered other strange entities and creatures, such as a black hooded being. She has also been contacted by many spirits of the deceased, including her own grandmother at a young age. What Kimberly discloses later in the interview will shock many and might cause some to remember similar experiences. I've had the opportunity to speak with many contactees and incredible people from around the world, and tonight's show is one of the most mind-bending broadcasts I've been a part of. Kimberly, really appreciate you joining us tonight. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
I know that we spoke just a little bit before tonight's presentation, and you told me a little bit about yourself and some of the experiences that you've had. I was wondering if you could share with our audience just a quick introduction about yourself.
Well, I am a mother of 3 and wife, and I live in Sandy, Oregon. I lived in Sandy for about going on 12 years. And then before that, I lived in Portland, from beginning to end. I mean, till 12 years. And I'm a housewife. Just, what else? I don't know. What else do you want to know?
So other than the abductions and these contact experiences that you're having, you live a pretty normal life.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And is any of your family in the military?
No.
Okay. So a lot of times people that have had many encounters with extraterrestrials or what they think are extraterrestrials, possibly interdimensionals and other things, there's a lot of connections with the military. So that's why I asked that. And another question that I ask a lot of people that have had encounters, do you have Rh negative blood?
No.
Okay. So how old were you when you had your first encounter?
Let's see. Some of these experiences I'm remembering as well. Hypnosis kind of helped me remember some of them. I believe when I was about 5, I briefly remember being in my bed and feeling scared. I still need to get hypnosis for that. That just recently came up on that one. But the ones that I can remember are, I was 28 and I was pregnant with my second child. And I was about 3 months pregnant. And I remember it seemed like a dream, but it was like real, like kind of like a dream, but it's like it was too real to be a dream.
Okay.
I remember in this dream state, or whatever you want to call it, what I can remember is being on a table with these bright lights, and it looked like 3 long needle type things, like on one, like a prong coming down in my stomach. And I remember just trying to scream, but I couldn't. I was so terrified because of my, being pregnant. And then I didn't remember anything after that. I just remember looking out this long window in this craft, and I could see like lights, like the feeling of the air was so light. And I remember just looking out and being still where I could not move. And I know there was a being on each side of me telling me everything's going to be okay, not to be afraid. And of course, I'm afraid.
Well, yeah.
And then it was kind of cloudy, and I remember the craft going down. So whatever they were trying to show me outside in space, I don't know. I was just too terrified to even communicate at that point.
Were they talking out loud, or was it telepathic?
No, it was telepathic, because I could not move. I was kind of like stuck, like I could not move, and I could see out the window. It was a real long window, and I could see into space because it was nothing but lights and black from what I could see. And I was like, whoa, this is a little bit weird. And then it kind of moved, and it was almost like it was moving fast. And then all I could remember was seeing dirt, like nothing but dirt, and a blue pickup sitting there in this dirt. And I thought, well, that doesn't make any sense. And then when I woke up, I looked at my stomach because I'm like, this is weird, really weird. And I actually had 3 marks a little below my belly button that were red, like red dots. And I thought, well, that was really strange. I wonder, and in my mind, I always kind of kept it in the back of my mind that did something happen? Did it? No, it couldn't have, because I didn't want to believe it.
Of course.
And then years later, I went to a hypnotherapist, and it was actually for my husband to quit smoking. But I decided, well, I'll just go for the heck of it and see what comes up. I really didn't have anything in mind. I just wanted to do it. And sure enough, my abduction experience, the one that I just told you about, came out, and it was really intense to where I was actually shaking, and I was crying and holding my stomach, and I really couldn't fully get everything out of it because I was shaken too much. I asked the hypnotherapist, I said, is this just my imagination? She's like, no, this is an experience that you had. And then I left because I just didn't even want to talk to her about it. I just left. And the next
What did your husband say when
he
he
just
found
went,
out about
whoa. Because I had mentioned it to him before that I wasn't sure, but I think I was. And of course, when you tell people that, they think, yeah, whatever.
Right.
So when I told him that, because I called him on, I just said, I just really don't, he wasn't in the room when I went under hypnosis. And I just said, I can't believe this happened. I feel violated. Why are they doing this to me? And, just all the questions that you have in your mind. And then I kind of let it go. And this is when I lived in Portland at the time, Portland, Oregon. Then I ended up getting pregnant with my last one, and I was about 30. I think was pregnant with her at 34, maybe it was 36, yeah. And got pregnant with her, and I went in, and before I seen the doctor, I went in, and the way they did it was you go in for an ultrasound, and then you meet with the doctor. And so I went in to get an ultrasound, and when I got an ultrasound with her, which I didn't know if it was a she or he at that time, I was probably about 3.5 months, and it looked like there were 2 babies in there moving. One was low and the other one was far up. And I asked the lady, I said, is there 2 in there? And she said, I can't tell you that. You'll have to talk to your doctor because I'm not authorized to do that. I'm just doing the ultrasound. So I said, okay. And the reason why I say that is because how I found out I was pregnant to begin with was through a dream as well. A lady came in and in my dream and said I was pregnant, and I'm like, because here I am in my 30s. I'm like, no way, I'm not pregnant. And so I didn't believe it, but I did in a way, and I went and got a testing, and they said I was pregnant. So then I'm like, okay, so that's the way I found out I was pregnant, through a dream. That's weird. So anyway, make long story short, thought I had 2 in there, which there were 2 heartbeats moving. And then I go to my doctor. But before I went to my doctor, I actually got food poisoning and was sick, really sick. Went to my doctor, got an ultrasound. There's only 1 in there. So I thought, I had 2 in there. She goes, no, you only have 1. I go, well, why don't you look at the other ultrasound? No, there's only 1. I'm like, okay. So I just let that go because I knew there was 2. And the dream, in fact, did tell me there were 2. So let's see, after I have my daughter, Kelly, we moved to Sandy when she's about 3 months. I'm forwarding fast, going fast.
Sure.
We moved to Sandy, Oregon, and kind of out in the country, and there's really not much around, close to Mount Hood. Actually, we're almost in Brightwood, because it goes Sandy, Brightwood, and Welch's. And I remember I had her on my bed, laying with me. My husband had went to work early in the morning, and I was going to let her lay on the bed with me. and I started to go back to sleep, and this bright light came through my window, came just straight through, and I'm looking at it in shock, like, what the heck is this? And as I'm looking at it, I just don't remember anything after that. I don't remember anything. It's just like, it was like something, this light just kind of just blanked me, where I didn't see anything. I was just sleeping. I woke up again thinking, what was that? And then I thought, okay, well, whatever. I kind of ignored that. And not too long after that, I just felt compelled to wake up at 3 something in the morning and look out my curtain in my front room. And it's pitch black where I live. There's no lights. I'm kind of up high. And so there's no street lights. I'm out in the country. And I look out my window, and there's this bright light in my neighbor's yard pulsating on the cow that lives over in the field. And I'm thinking, what the heck is going on? And my heart starts thumping because I know that it's probably, and they're taking the cow. And so I'm just looking out the window scared, thinking, what if they read my thoughts? What if they see me doing this? And, because I didn't know, I have no idea if they're going to do something to me or what.
Sure.
So I, the next morning I tell my husband about it, and he's like, are you sure? Are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. And we were invited to a barbecue at our neighbor's. And they were telling us, I go, what happened to the cow that used to come out here? And, the lady said, oh, and she looked kind of strange, and looked at me, and I go, well, she goes, we found it dead.
Oh
and
my
then she didn't want to talk about it. And I said, well, should I say something? I really didn't want to say anything because I thought maybe they'd think I was this strange, crazy neighbor,
Right.
talking about what I had seen. So I didn't say anything. I just knew the look on her face was good enough. That's all I needed. I didn't even need to talk about it. And so there was that situation. And let's see, there's so much more.
Did she tell you how it died? I mean, was it like a cattle mutilation, or did you not get into it?
I didn't get into it because I could tell on her face. It was, I'm very, how do I want to say it? I'm very intuitive to how people feel.
Sure.
And I can sense energy, and I've always been able to do that as a child. I would know things. So I'm very sensitive, telepathic, psychic, the whole thing. I've tried to hide it.
I've often heard, I just want to interject real quick. I've heard that many times people that have multiple encounters with, our space brothers or extraterrestrials or the Greys or whatever, they're more intuitive, and they're almost used as like a conduit to perform other things. So I wonder if that's why they have targeted you, is possibly because of your DNA, it sounds like, and also your intuitive abilities.
Right. And another thing I have, ever since I was real young, I've always been very health conscious of eating, exercising, almost fanatical in a way. So I've always been pretty healthy. And today even I eat organic food, and just by choice. It's not something that my whole family did. It's just the way I felt to do. There was another incident where I had my son, my 2 daughters, and my son's girlfriend, and we were all going to meet. We were going to Washington area to go to look at some property at Kettle Falls area. And my husband.
Where is that? I know Washington State pretty well, but I haven't heard of that area.
It's just a small little area.
Is it by the Puget Sound? Is it closer to like Seattle or Olympia, or are you further north?
I would say it's getting close to Canada. I'm trying to think where exactly.
Okay.
My husband happened to be working. He works out of town a lot. He doesn't anymore, but at this time he did. And he was working close to the Canadian border. And he was going to meet us over at Kettle Falls to look at some property there. And then he would go back to his job site, and we would come back home in my son's girlfriend's car. And so I thought, okay, this is fine. And I was telling my son and everybody in the car about my experience of, the abduction and all that. And I wish that they could see what I seen, so that, they would know what I was talking about, and so someone would at least believe me, not that they said, not that they didn't, but they didn't really ask questions. They just kind of like, yeah, whatever. So as I was saying that, not even, and this is really just weird, we were coming through on our way home through Biggs Junction area, and that's kind of like a drive